I have that drive. I know that's what I'm what I'm gonna do. And I could recreate and probably will recreate the driving company, but the idea of the next business is larger, requires a building, much more initial investment than what I had to do for a driving company.
Kickstarter.com, like you looked at, is a great resource. Another one is crowdtilt.com.
Crowdtilt?
Yeah, I believe with both of those. I mean, there are two kinds of crowdfunding. There's, you just get the money, and then there's a newer kind, the kind that's going through legislation, which is really crowd investment, where they get a share in the company of some kind. But Kickstarter and CrowdTilt, I don't think are that. You just get the money. And you pretty much, this is like maybe too simple of a way to put it, but you make a compelling video and you get a lot of money. And then, but then you get a lot of hate mail if you don't follow up. But I bootstrapped. I don't believe in debt, aside from property investment, like a mortgage. And that might sound odd coming from the tech guy at the table, because I know Silicon Valley type companies, they get big venture capital. I'm like, when's your first round? What's your second round? Go for the sellout. I did sell out. I mean, obviously there are places where it's really a great idea. There are a lot of other places where it makes you sloppy. It makes a business owner reckless, because it can make them reckless because they're not on the line for the failures. And I think one of the most critical things in a business is that you have to learn to fail fast and fix it. And when you don't have, when it's all your own money, you feel the failures really fast. Then you fix it really fast, or else. And that was really critical. And I think I had this conversation with a business partner recently, where they were saying, I was saying, you need to hire somebody. You're like, well, we don't have money to hire somebody. We don't have money. How do we hire someone? And I had a nail in your head. You don't need money to hire somebody. You do not, does everyone know that you do not need money to hire somebody? All you need is an activity for them to do that makes more money than what you pay them. That's why you need to hire somebody. You don't need to have money. You just tell them to do something that makes money. And you give them part of it.
My fear is, how do I pay somebody a salary? How do I hire someone?
We'll have part of their job be that, in the job description, you must pick up 5 fares per day, or whatever it is. And you've done the math, and you know that it takes 3 fares per day to pay them. It's in their job description to make 5. Hey, did you make 5? Great, here's your salary, and I get a cut. You didn't make 5? It's in your job description. Sorry, maybe you should find something else. I mean, it's not really that harsh, but it is. Do the math, plan ahead,
Have you locked down your business plan?
Pardon?
Have you locked down your business plan?
No.
That right there is one of the most crucial things that you can possibly do. If you're looking for investment, I didn't have a business plan when I started. I didn't have a business plan when I walked in the doors at BP. I was looking for investors and stuff, and had a $3 million contract on the table and still couldn't get an investment. And it's because I didn't have a business plan. And it's an investor's job is to doubt you. It's your job to prove to them that you can be trusted. Without a business plan, you can't do that.
Jason, did you still have a?
Yeah, I had a question for the Fat Mike's guys. So, explain to me the dynamics. You guys have been doing this for 5 or 6 years now. You seem to have a successful partnership going. How did you make that work? How did you not just year one go, you know what, bro, this ain't gonna work for me, you're out? What happened to make it so you got this great fit?
Yeah, and if I may, I wanted to, because that was a question I had too, but maybe just expand it to all the partnerships represented here, because I noticed that some of you are not like lifelong friends or family members, so I was interested also in how you know that you have the right partner and that leap of faith with another person.
I don't know if we actually ever knew when we did the project, but we communicate like every day. Like little things in the beginning, like little things we would, oh man, just ask each other, do you think this is a good idea? Yeah. Now we've been doing this a little longer. The little things aren't as important, but we still talk between these 3 businesses. We talk with any big decisions almost like every day. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, it's just worked, you know, it's just like, I think, you know, we joke around that, you know, we spend more time talking with each other than we do our wives, you know. So it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of weird, but it's like a platonic marriage is what it is. And you know, the weird thing is though, and I've read that most partnerships don't work, and because there's a lot of ego involved or whatever. And what I would say though is one thing that's made our partnership super strong is we are very different people, and we are good at different things. And if you're gonna have somebody help you out, man, find a partner that covers all your weaknesses. You know, I think together we're a much much stronger team than if we were try to do this on our own. You know, we just have very complementary skill sets, and I don't think you'd want a partner that was just like you. You wouldn't get very far, I don't think. That's my opinion.
I mean, I think we've had maybe two like issues where we never agreed on anything. Like, or there was like maybe two issues we haven't agreed on, and it's been pretty easy. Like it's never been like that's the way it's going to be forever. It's just been like I don't really agree with that. No, and then we talk it out for an hour, and it's like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Okay, let's do it. So it's never been a big like, oh man, for 2 years we're never going to do this. Like it's usually pretty quick, and yeah.
And when there are disagreements, it's never over petty stuff. It's over serious stuff. You know, it's like philosophical things like customer service or teamwork, or, you know, it's never the small stuff. You know, if there's a disagreement, it's always, hey, what do you think of this? Or, you know, it's just a lot of open communication, really.
The cool thing, the funny thing with us was he was from REI, so he was from this real corporate bike shop business, and I've always been at like a private, like what we are, we're like independent owned bike shop. So that was always really weird for both of us because, yeah, for the corporate side of it and the small bike shop side of it, and it would always be like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. No, we can't do that. So yeah, but we've always worked it out. It's been pretty simple.
I would add in, I'm lucky I get to partner with my husband. I'm not sure this would have been his cup of tea to do, but he's been a great sport. And what's really been good is when we were first talking to people about doing a restaurant or food truck, it's like, oh good, you're both not gonna try cooking because, you know, you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen, especially in a small food truck. So like these guys said, we complement each other. I take care of the logistics and the menu and everything to do with the truck. And my husband Richard takes care of the social media. He built our website in a matter of a couple days, and it is working wonders. It's an awesome website. He does all our Facebook and babysits all the other stuff that is like, you want me to do what on Facebook now? And he's tagging things and tweeting and everything. And I'm like, you do that part and I do that part. So it is really nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of, and to have different interests and different skill sets. So you're not overlapping. So it works out pretty good.
Same thing here. I mean, complementary skill sets, and it's like a marriage. I would really just underscore, like, as ridiculous as it sounds, do not go into business with someone that you would not, platonically speaking, marry. Because it is not only just like a marriage, in most states, it's more legally binding than a marriage. And I don't know how more serious to make it. Like my business partner Taylor, who I co-founded Jernstrom with, I've known him forever. We've worked together before we became partners in business. We have a lot of fights before we got acquired, and a lot of them were the same fights as I would have with my wife, which was always disturbing because then I saw there was a common denominator. Oh no, but
I think Katherine told me once, she was like, you talk to me just like you talk to Nick, which is my husband, so the platonic marriage tone. I think that that's a good point, though. You can start a business with a friend, and sometimes it might work out. Chances are it's probably not going to work out. Katherine and I went through, as she mentioned, Leadership Anchorage together, which is a 9-month program. It's very intense. It's all about the self and how you act in conflict and around others. So I knew some very intimate things about Katherine, and she knew very intimate things about me, and we knew how each other handled stress and what we did when pushed to our breaking point. And so that was, a very unique situation to be able to have gone through that with someone and to understand those things. But a lot of it is, yes, it's someone with complementary skill sets and somebody that you can push your ego aside and say, hey, guess what? I don't know how to do this very well, but I know that you do, or maybe you'll learn this faster than I will. And being able to share some of that ownership with. And then also somebody that you trust. Like, I trust Katherine so much. And that's what makes a good marriage, right? Is that trust factor. And so it's the same thing with a business partnership. You want to be able to trust your partner and know that when they make a decision with or without you, it's the right one and in the best interest.
And having the same goals and the same values. Initiative and hard work is hard to come by these days, and I'm only 29, and I already realized that. And I know that I couldn't have gone into business with someone that if I knew we had a deadline, or you have to open the doors, or you have to go pull a trigger on a deal, if you can't trust that person to do it as good as you can do it or better, you're going to have some problems. And so, just finding someone who wants to work just as hard as you do, because you don't want to be pulling more weight than someone else. That's also, that doesn't help anything.
Catherine's really right. Like, Katherine and Brit obviously have it down, but like, don't go into a partnership with someone that you don't trust, like with your life, or like in their work ethic, because it'll destroy your friendship. You will not have a business, and you won't have a friend when it's over.
I wanted to speak for that, kind of. So, in the beginning of our stuff, I approached my friend about building my idea, and it was actually just recently, he never even touched it, didn't really want anything to do with it in the beginning, and then just recently, he's been telling people that I stole his idea and all sorts of stuff. So, like he said, it could be your best friend, you never know, so you definitely have to trust the people. I finally have a team right now that I trust. Slavic back there, new member. Trust him, great guy, and he shows his ass every day. It's crazy. So definitely do a background check on who you're going to work with. As it doesn't matter how well you think you know him, so.
Other questions? Go ahead.
I have a question with the Boardroom about securing the commercial lease. Could you go into maybe a little bit more detail about that and who you worked with maybe on getting that? Did you have a space in mind, or did it just happen? It turned out to be in a good location.
Can't you just have your space?
So Katherine and I, we're very much like, we can do this ourselves. And so we did not enlist the help of a real estate agent, which I might recommend if you, because that was interesting and fun. But Katherine and I knew, and we had a set series of factors that were important to the success of our business, and we had those determined in our business plan, and that was key to our business success, and was that location. So we looked at a couple different properties. We were pretty picky. We almost signed a lease on a space not too far from where we're currently located. And at the last minute, we got cold feet for a couple different reasons, which ended up actually being a good thing. And so we were essentially back to the drawing board. And the time, we were very close. We were about to sign the lease and decided not to. And the time that it took us from looking at that property, and when we walked in, we were like, this is the space. From that moment to when we decided we're not going to sign it was about 3 months. So it takes a long time. And we were working directly with the owner. He was incredibly comfortable with us. It was everything that could have gone right went right, and it still took us 3 months. And so we were a little bit in panic mode. That was after we had quit our jobs. And we, at that time, Katherine ran into a friend of mine who I hadn't talked with in a while, and he said, oh, she mentioned, I'm starting this idea of the Boardroom, and he said, I've heard of that, and he happened to know me, and so he told Katherine, he works for a big property developer. He said, I have a really cool space that you guys should come and look at. And so we went and looked at it, and it was perfect for our needs and fit our needs really, really well. It was also incredibly expensive, and was more expensive than we had planned for in our business plan. And so what we were able to do, though, was work directly with the owner to come to terms that made sense for us and were very fair for being a startup and took a lot of the risk out of the equation. But we're still paying fair market value on it. And so that was kind of our journey and our process. It was a little unique in that we got to work directly with an owner who had enough capital that he was comfortable not making us guarantee a 5-year lease, for example. And so that was a unique factor, but it was also still a very long, very tough process.
Well, and the other thing we didn't realize is that your landlord or whoever owns the building, they're an investor in you, and they're an investor in your idea. And we had to bring our business plan to them and our financials to them and kind of bear all while still trying to negotiate a good lease rate. But that was part of before we found our property, people turned us away. They didn't want 100+ people, different people coming through their space. They wanted the same 15 attorneys who, are white collar workers and, whatever. I mean, co-working is new. A lot of people didn't get it. And so that was a challenge too. If you have an idea that's new,
You have to educate the market on your idea.
you also have to educate, landlords, so.
I would just highly recommend, at least from my experience, and maybe everyone will agree with me, maybe not. I definitely recommend getting a lawyer, working with a real estate individual. Particularly, I'm, with the group I dealt with today, I would have just got walked all over on if I had tried doing this myself. One of the harder things I had to do is, a friend of mine was helping me out with my bookkeeping, which was fantastic, and then we kind of got to a point where it was a little bit overwhelming for her. I realized I wish I would have just had a proper, the people doing my bookkeeping since day one. That was kind of a headache I had to deal with. Unless you're really, really adequate at keeping books or you got experience at it, I would recommend letting someone else who's a professional do it so you can focus all your time and energy on whatever business you've got going on. That's something that I experienced.
And it's similar to what Paul said about, hiring an employee. You don't need money to hire an employee. You just need your employee to do things that makes money to pay for themselves. Hiring a good CPA, hiring a good attorney pays for itself.
Yes.
So we didn't have a good real estate agent, but we didn't have one. But the reason why we were able still to be successful in our lease negotiations was because we had really good attorneys that, we paid for really good attorneys. But that was crucial to the success of our business and to setting up operating agreements and things like that. So.
The first time I was substantially profitable for any amount my wife would care about, and thought I could do my books and my taxes myself. I wrote a really big check to the IRS that I didn't have to. It was more than $10,000. It was like bye money. And then the first time I hired a CPA to do my books, they saved me I think 10 times more than I paid them to do the taxes. And then I think it's funny you guys think you were do it yourself because you didn't get a realtor. Because we were oh, we don't need electricity. Oh my gosh, the works. We took 8 months to find the building too, but we bought it was a long way from where it is now. Now it's a fun and funky and clean concert venue. But we spent twice as much getting that building up to municipal spec as a venue than we spent for everything else in business expenses, just in dealing with community regulations. So if you're looking at property, do your research. If I want to run a restaurant in it, is it up to spec for that?